Hey everybody, Victor here. And for today, we have a nation guide for Lubeck. Now, before I get into the guide proper, I just wanted to say I'm sorry that it took so long to get this released. Unfortunately, my kids got sick, and they decided that it was worth sharing with me, so I've been fighting it off for the last couple of days. But with all that said, let's go ahead and begin. Now, while most of my guides focus first on the estates and privileges a country can give, you can't really do any of that because you're a merchant republic. You have no estates. Instead, you unfortunately have the faction system. Now, I'm not sure if you guys have dealt with the faction system before. If you have, great, but I'm just going to cover it briefly for those who have not. Basically, you have these three factions. They each have their own benefits and handicaps associated to them, and they will get in charge through this yellow text. They will slowly gain or lose influence based on those things. So if you want to have, say, the guilds in charge, you can either have more overextension or go through bankruptcy, or in the alternative, boost them using your monarch points. Now, given that some of their benefits can be very strong, such as goods produced or construction cost, it might be worthwhile to dump some points in specific times, such as when you're mass building your manufactories. So this is strong in certain circumstances. However, just be aware that this is how it works, and when you need to get into, say, a trade power fight, make sure you bump up the traders. Or you're building, bump up the guilds. Or when you're about to start a fight, bump up the aristocrats if they're not already in charge, though they will usually be in charge. With that, your estates and privileges are done. Now let's talk about your starting ruler. You see, he starts off pretty much random every time you start the game. While his age is always going to be between about 50 and 60 years old, everything else about him is going to be completely randomized every time you start the game. This trait can be anything out there, not just the foreign spy detection. It can be corruption, it can be morale, so don't anticipate anything in particular. More important though, the stat distribution. This is going to be completely randomized every time you start. I have started off with a 001 ruler and a 565 ruler. So it is up to you if you want to restart based on what this is. Because this is not the end-all be-all, but I can definitely understand why you don't want to start the game off with a 001. The good news is that if you really don't like the ruler, but everything else seems ideal, you are a republic. No matter what, in 4 years, you can throw him to the curb. So don't think that this is the you must restart, but I can definitely understand why you might want to. Now, with all that being said, let's move on. The next thing I actually want to talk about is the first two missions that you will be completing as Lubeck. The reason why is because you have your own mission tree. And the first two missions that you will be completing is End the Sound Toll, which require you to either control Sjælland or control Lund, which means you'll have to go to war with Denmark and their personal unions and whoever else they happen to ally, which is somewhat intimidating for a one-province minor at the beginning of the game. Or you improve your relations with them. Once Denmark has an opinion of you of 150, you can complete this mission. And this will give you permanent, till the end of the game, bonus trade power and local trade power in your capital, which is huge for making money. Now, why am I talking about this? Because Denmark has a very nasty habit of, as soon as you can be rivaled, rivaling you. And once they rival you, you will have to go to war with them. No matter who their ally is, no matter how strong they might be, you now have to fight them. So before you go on some mad conquest spree through northern Germany, get this mission done. It'll help your economy, it'll help you in the long run, and it's better to do it now than having to fight Denmark, even though you're probably going to be fighting Denmark anyway. Next, defend the city. Defend the city is incredibly easy, and it will end up giving you claims on all of the Mecklenburg area, including Brandenburg. Now, this is incredibly easy because it just requires you basically to get to 12,000 force limit. 12,000 army in the field. Because you have to complete 100% of your force limit, which is less than 12,000. So, the easiest way to do this, just go to your army, hire 3 guys, and then hire the free company. That'll get you to 12,000. And you're done with that mission. Meaning, as soon as these guys are done, you will have claims on Mecklenburg, and you are ready to go. Now, as far as your rivals are concerned, you're going to be leaving this blank. The reason why is this does not have any impact on whether or not they find allies. In fact, they usually will. They can even still get large allies, such as Mecklenburg allying Poland, or in East Frisia allying England. I've seen it happen that's not why you're not rivaling them back. The reason why is you have a large option of people you can rival. If you choose to rival Mecklenburg now, and they ally Poland, you have no way of attacking them immediately. Whereas somebody like Verdun over here may not have an ally at all. So if you tie up these slots, you are committing to targeting somebody and attacking them where you might not be able to. So instead of picking your rivals at game start, hold off for a couple of months. It's not going to really destroy any of your power projections, so it doesn't matter. Just sit back, wait a second, and see who everybody allies. And then once everybody picks allies, there's usually going to be one or two that have either really weak allies or are completely diplomatically isolated. If that happens, by all means, rival them, show strength against them, or humiliate them to get your splendor generation going. But with that, you should be fine on your rivals. Now, as far as who your allies are going to be, you only have 3 slots, and you're going to need to keep at least one of them open. So go ahead and find one, and I mean only one, of the larger targets that are willing to ally you on day 1. In my case, that would obviously be Wolgast. However, it's going to depend on your game. You might only be able to get Magdeburg. Just pick whoever it happens to be and ally them now. You'll find another ally later. But for now, you want to get him sorted. Next, go ahead and start improving relations with Denmark, because again, your mission, you might as well get it started now, and it is time to unpause. Now that it is there, let me go ahead and show you the next step, is you're going to find out whoever is the next largest ally you have, whether in the HRE or otherwise, whether that is Poland or Bohemia or Austria or anybody else. Pick the one you want to go for, and you're going to start improving relations with them. I personally like Poland, but it's going to be up to you. Just start improving relations with them, hoping to try and get them as an ally, because while they are, as you can see, quite far away, that army strength is going to narrow fairly fast because you're recruiting up to 12,000. On top of that, if you can get that neutral attitude removed, you should be good. So it is a quick move to try and get one of these guys to be your ally. Poland is a bigger risk. Bohemia is easier to get, but it is up to you. So I'm going to go ahead and pause the recording while I let them sort out their alliances, sort out who's going to be what, and let it go from there. Oh, by the way, go ahead, if you take your light ships, protect trade, take everything else, go ahead and mothball it. You're not going to need it. I will see you guys in just a second. And welcome back, everybody. So it's been 6 months, and I wanted to show you how everything shook out, because that helps, A, highlight what I was talking about, and B, it helps you just see what's going on so you can understand why I'm making the choices I'm making. So East Frisia over here rivaled me, but I did not rival them back. The reason why is they allied Austria, which means I can't attack them. Not for a very long time, and by the time I get around to doing that anyway, they're likely not going to be a valid target. So instead of wasting the slot on them, I chose others. Namely, I chose Saxe-Lombard, Dithmarschen, and Verdun. The reason why is fairly simple. You see, Saxe-Lombard over here, they're only allied to Berg. Dithmarschen, they're only allied to Friesland. So both of them are fairly easy targets. Whereas Verdun over here actually has some bigger players. They have Mecklenburg and Brunswick. However, because they're allied to Mecklenburg, they're a prime opportunity to rival them. The reason why is simple. You see, when I attack Mecklenburg, because I have claims on all their land, that means I'll be able to get the humiliation on Verdun without co-belligerating them or anything else. Meaning I have 2 targets for easy show strength to get myself 200 of every monarch power, and then I have the humiliation for all the power projection as well as the splendor growth, and I don't have to do a separate war. Meaning I have 3 very easy targets just because I waited a couple of months and my power projection really isn't penalized by that. So, wait. You'll be fine. Just wait a couple of months. Next, as you can see, my diplomat is coming back, but what they're coming back from is Denmark. I ally them. You can usually ally Denmark. It's very rare that they won't. However, if they don't, you're fine. It really doesn't matter. This just helps expedite the 150 opinion. But more importantly, you'll be getting favors, and you can use them plus their 2 personal unions up here to help punch all the people down here for quite a while. And then once you're ready to start expanding north, just break the alliance and start expanding north. You will have plenty of time to build up a power base in northern Germany, and then you can take out Denmark. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and pause the recording again because it's time for me to start picking off targets. So, time to hire a general. Let's see what I got. Not great, but not bad. And I'm probably going to go after these 2 and then aim at Mecklenburg, because after I have those 2, I should be ahead in military tech. So I will see you guys in just a few minutes. And welcome back, everybody. So it's been a few years, fought a few wars, showed off my strength, and now it's time to develop Renaissance. Now, once Renaissance spawns, you need to get Lubeck up to development 30 as fast as you can, or at a very base minimum, 20 as soon as it spawns. There's a couple of reasons for this, and I'll take them one at a time. First off, the more development you have, the stronger you're going to be. So, develop it up just to make yourself stronger with force limit, money, manpower, etc. Second, Renaissance has a natural spread in Europe, as you can see right here. At the start of the game, you start off with 17 development, which means it spreads throughout your province at 0.1 per month. Just by getting it to 20 development, it spikes that, however. It goes to 0.31 per month. So you triple the rate it spreads naturally. Now, while 0.31 per month might not sound like a lot, every month that it goes on is a little bit less of dev clicking that you need to do, which is just a little bit less monarch power that you need to throw at this to have Renaissance. Now, if you're following along like me and you did the show strength, you should be on time when it comes to tech. You should be ahead of time. You should have about 3 years or so before you have to take the next tech, and you will need Renaissance done, meaning you have time to let this spread. And at 0.31 per month over 3 years, that is 1 or 2 dev clicks that you won't have to do otherwise, which is a good 100 monarch power you wouldn't have to spend otherwise, or more. So having this done now really benefits you. So get it as soon as you possibly can. The 30, however, is mainly for your splendor. Now, the 3 ones you can get fairly easy as Lubeck, the large city, embrace Renaissance, and humiliate rival, allow you to get splendor very, very quickly, and this is good because there's 3 bonuses you're aiming for. The first is justified wars. It'll reduce your aggressive expansion by 10%. And since you're in northern Germany, you have a lot of expansion you should be doing in the HRE, because the only other option you realistically have is Denmark, and even if I didn't ally them, there is no way I'm strong enough to fight Denmark. Not right now. I need to expand first. And by reducing my aggressive expansion, it makes it so I can take just a little bit more land. About 10% more development before I have a coalition. So that is a very, very useful splendor bonus. The next one is right here, the transfer subject. Now, if you've seen my Mulhouse guide, you know what I'm talking about. Basically, you are hemmed in. You have 4 possible targets you can get right now. You have Denmark, you have Saxe-Lauenburg, you have Mecklenburg, and you have Wolgast. Mecklenburg, they're something you're going to be targeting anyway. The problem is they can get people that you're not quite comfortable fighting right now. Saxe-Lauenburg, while they're relatively weak most of the time, they're really great for getting a show strength off, and that's 300 monarch power. So do you really want to give that up? And then lastly, you have Wolgast, who usually will ally you. But even if you don't take them as an ally, they're generally not expanding your opportunities to find people to attack. Sure, you might get to the Teutonic Order, you might be able to attack Denmark a little bit more, and you might be able to get to Brandenburg, but that's about it. You're still relatively locked down. With this claims bordering claims, you're able to spread deeper into the HRE or wrap around Denmark and expand over here and then south from here, opening up the possibilities of who you attack. More importantly, let's say I did have to fight East Frisia. Well, I can't right now because they're allied with Austria. However, if they were also allied with, say, Anhalt over here, I could get a claim down to Anhalt, attack them to fight East Frisia, and Austria wouldn't get involved. So it's allowing me to get around those annoying alliances, such as when Mecklenburg allies Bohemia, or Poland, because they can do that too. So it is a way to get around annoying alliances that might brick your game anyway. Lastly, the third one is right here, adaptive combat terrain. This will give you a +1 bonus on your dice rolls when you're fighting in your capital terrain, farmland. Now, if you look, you do not get a defensive bonus on your capital. This is pretty huge, meaning if you're an even fight, you might not win and relieve a siege of your capital. Getting that +1 makes it a little bit easier for you to win a war, because they will generally run to try and occupy you. And then if you have the advantage and you're even in number, you should win it. So getting that will help you win a fight, especially once you're ready to take on Denmark, which you should be doing before the 50 years are out. And with all of that, you should be capable of just developing Renaissance and being fine with that. Now that all of that is said, I need to wait until I have the opportune moment to attack Mecklenburg, because the Teutonic Order is, well, kind of annoying. While I could ally them, that doesn't really help me take on Mecklenburg, and while I can wait for Poland to take care of it, that's another 10 years of nothing. So I'm going to see what I can do with the other opportunities I have to attack, and I'll bring you guys back once it's time to talking about the next steps. See you soon. And welcome back, everybody. So I was able to use some favors from Denmark and Wolgast to take out Mecklenburg and their allies, even going so far as to get the Humiliate on Verdun and to make Teutonic Order spit out Danzig, saving them from the event that was coming. However, that's not what I wanted to talk about. What I wanted to talk about is what to do with Mecklenburg. You see, in the old patches, you were able to take Imperial territory, and as long as you started another war, you can then core it up during it, and they wouldn't send you unlawful territory demands. In the current patch, they still will. The Emperor will absolutely demand that you return unlawful territory, even if you're at war. And that means you cannot release them as a vassal subject because you're at war, meaning you just lost whatever you conquered. So instead, there's only one real way to get around it, and that is to ally the Emperor, something that you're really not going to be able to do. So instead, the only way around it is to make a Mecklenburg vassal. But there's two ways of doing that, and you need to decide which is more important to you. As you can see, I have a spy network down on Lüneburg, and that's because I'm going to be attacking Lüneburg. But more important, it's how you deal with Mecklenburg, because you have two options. You can either seize all the land, taking more aggressive expansion, but in exchange you'll be able to release them and they will have no opinion, malice against you at all. They will not care that you were at war, they will not care about all the problems, they will not care about the hostile relations. All of that will be gone. The fact that you force vassalize them, that will never exist. What will happen, however, is every other prince in the HRE will get -30 opinion of you because you eliminated an HRE prince. Once you diplomatically annex them, they will also get -30 opinion of you for destroying an HRE prince. So whether it's diplomatic annexation or otherwise, you get the -30. Now that does decay, however, it's still there. Now if you annex them, release them, and then re-annex them, you get hit twice. On the other hand, you can choose to force vassalize them here, allowing you to take them now, not take that opinion malice, but deal with them not liking you and them being more rebellious. So it's up to you which you end up thinking is more valuable. Having them loyal from the start, or not caring about that and just getting them loyal, or sorry, not caring about them being loyal and just having it there and taking less aggressive expansion, because if you can tell, 31 to vassalize them versus 37 to full annex them. So the aggressive expansion, generally not that big of a deal. However, that opinion malice can absolutely hurt you once coalitions start forming, because you're going to be unable to make them happy with you. However, if you're able to, take some land to make sure you can bridge to the next target, as I am doing here, as then you can drop a claim and then return the province over once the unlawful territory demand comes up. Meaning the Emperor will like that you handed it back to your vassals, so it really doesn't matter, and you're able to diplomatically annex them later. But I just needed to cover that so you guys are aware of the easiest way to expand into the future. with that being said, it is now time for me to look at my next expansion paths, so I will see you guys in a little bit. Welcome back, everybody. So a few years have passed. During that time, a few wars have happened, which has led me to have a few more subjects. I was about to attack Lüneburg as well, however got called into this instead, so I wasn't able to show you all 3 subjects that I would have had, but I wanted to show you basically where you should be at in 1475, and explain why this is easily accomplished. So you should be around this power level, or this expansion level around this time, more or less. And this shouldn't be very difficult. The reason why is, as I said before, you're supposed to be aiming for the weaker links. So I attacked Wolgast simply because their only ally was Oldenburg. I attacked Saxe-Lauenburg because their only allies were Dithmarschen and Berg. So I outnumbered them. But I wanted to point out that that's not the only thing you need to worry about, because you should be able to punch above your weight limit. And Lüneburg is actually a prime example on why. You see, you are a republic, he is not. He is a monarchy, which means his ruler's military skill level is only 1. Which means he's gonna likely fall behind in military tech. In fact, he has. He's only military level 5, whereas I am level 6. Meaning I have a definitive advantage against him in any fight. And that's all you really need to do. You're a republic. The likelihood you'll ever fall behind in a specific technology is low. Because if you're gonna need military for a war, pick a military ruler. As long as they're not at 4 or higher, such as Denmark up here, you should be ahead of them in virtually everything. The only time you usually fall behind is if your rulers keep dying, which, okay, you just keep getting a level 4, or you're focusing on an idea. And if your ruler doesn't die, you should be able to do both. So don't worry necessarily about whether or not you're attacking somebody of equal strength. Look at their tech level. You will probably be ahead of them as long as you are using show strength where you can to make certain you're on time, if not ahead of tech. That's the first part. You see, here's the thing. My ruler is careful, which means he has an aggressive expansion reduction, which paired with justified wars means I really didn't have any aggressive expansion for all of my shenanigans. It's in fact so far reduced the closest person to joining a coalition is Stettin, who's only at 27. So yeah, I got away with quite a lot, and I could probably get away with even more. You are probably not going to have a careful ruler, though I hope you do. It makes it really fun, and you can expand a lot more. But generally speaking, you're still not going to have a coalition at this point. The reason why is simple, and this is something I see a lot of people do, especially in the HRE, that ends up making it so you can't expand that much. And that is, you're taking non-co-belligerated land. You see, here's a good example. You want to take Stettin's land, but Stettin here is allied to Lithuania. You also want to take Lüneburg's land, and they're allied to Stettin. So you'll attack Lüneburg, take their land, and during the war, take Stettin's land too. Thinking, oh, well, you just avoided having to fight Lithuania. Great news. The problem is that you pay an extra 50% per development for aggressive expansion. So it's an extra 50%. Which means you're able to take 50% less of the development if you had simply co-belligerated them. In this case, if it's Stettin, that's 23 development, so you're taking 11.5 less development before a coalition will trigger because you took it non-co-belligerated. Now, is it a good thing to have to fight Lithuania? No, not really. It's generally not. However, you can always break the alliance and come back after them later. And that's really the key here. Is it worth it to pay that increased aggressive expansion to not allow you to take another 11 development, which is a Dithmarschen, or almost a Lüneburg worth of development, just because you chose not to co-belligerate them? All of the land I have taken so far has been either direct declaration or it's been because I've co-belligerated them. So don't take land from non-co-belligerated unless you have to. Now, the people you will always have to are the free cities, like Hamburg or Bremen. You see, if you attack them directly, the Emperor will defend them, so of course, go after whoever they're allied with, and then take them as a non-co-belligerated, so at least you can take their land at all. That's the only real way of getting around it, other than allying them and trying to feed them more land, such as allying Hamburg and trying to feed them Dithmarschen. because then they're two provinces and cannot qualify as a free city. But I needed to go through that so you guys don't end up taking non-co-belligerated land and suddenly you're mad that you can't even take all of Wolgast because, well, then you have a coalition. But with all of that being said, I'm going to go ahead and pause the recording, go forward probably another 10, 20 years to show you what to do after this point and the next steps. But also, go ahead and embrace Pomeranian culture. Since you've already taken over Mecklenburg, they're all Pomeranian, which means you're pretty close. Once you get done with Wolgast, if you want to embrace Pomeranian, to either form Pomerania, which is up to you, or to form Prussia, which, again, is up to you. You can go ahead and do it. Just be aware, if you keep this mission tree, you can end up going down here and forming a new tag. Well, your name will change to the Hanseatic League, which is kind of worth it. So I'm going to go ahead and pause the recording. I'll see you guys in just a little bit. And welcome to the 1600s. So as you can see, some things have slightly changed since you've been gone. First off, I annexed all my vassals. I even got some new ones of Rupen, Stettin, and Danzig. But more importantly, Brandenburg is not exactly having a good day. They were doing fine until I decided to end them. Now, I wanted to talk about Brandenburg because the strategy that I used is something you guys can use and will make your life a little bit easier. You see, Brandenburg starts off at over 100% war score. That means in order to vassalize them or to full annex them, you have to get them below 100. Now, there's a way to do that at the beginning of the game. Namely, you have to reconquer Uckermark for Stettin and release Rupen, or vassalize Rupen, and that will drop them below 100. Unless they get these two provinces from the Teutonic Order. If they get these two provinces, you can't touch them. The reason why is even if you release these two, they will be at 101 war score. But there's a way around this, and that's exactly what I did, and namely it is you have other people conquer the land and take the unlawful territory demands. You see, the AI will attack whoever is weak. And they determine whoever is weak based on their troop count, their economy, their allies, etc. So what I did is I attacked Brandenburg to get these two provinces from them. But during that time, I attacked their allies, namely Hesse and the other four, I don't remember who they were. I made Hesse break their alliance with Brandenburg. So Brandenburg was still in the war, but they had no allies. Then I turned on Brandenburg and I completely wiped out their army. So now they had no allies and no army. Then I sieged them all out, save for Berlin. Them I left 1,000 troops standing on. So they had no army, they were almost full occupied, and they had no allies. After about 6 months of this, Saxony realized how vulnerable they were and declared. Poland, realizing that not only were they fighting me and drastically losing, they were now fighting Saxony and they also declared. And since Hesse was the emperor, there was really nothing that Brandenburg could have hoped for to try and stop it, meaning they ended up losing these 5 provinces. Now Saxony, they may release 1, but generally won't release 2 or even 3. Poland, given their sheer size here, they're not giving anything up. Which means, because of this, even if all 3 of these are returned, and these 2 are not, they're now below 100%. Meaning I can full annex Brandenburg, release them, and if I need to, reconquer any of these cores that I might decide I want to have back. So go ahead and use this tactic to try and break those larger than 100% war score targets, such as Bohemia, or Brandenburg, or in this case now, Saxony if you really want to, just so you don't have to deal with their nonsense. Next, let's talk about Stettin. Now when it comes to Stettin, the issue is whether or not you're forming Pomerania. You see, the thing is that you can form Pomerania even if Wolgast, Stettin, and Rügen are the ones that own the provinces and not you. The only requirement is that they are less than 5 provinces, so 4 or less in terms of size. Now Wolgast starts off at 5. So what you do is you end up releasing Rügen first, then Wolgast and the other 4, and once you take Stettin, you can then click this button and become Pomerania. Here's the thing. You instantly inherit all 3 of these tags. There is no diplomatic annexation cost, no coring time, none of it. It is instantaneous, you own them, they're your core provinces. It even reduces the local autonomy there, just in case you have any. Meaning, you can have a massive power spike very quickly. just by vassalizing these guys even at the beginning of the game as the first primary targets. So if you want to do it that way, have at it. You can instantly become Pomerania. I don't recommend it, however. While their ideas and ambitions are okay, they're not great, they're not bad. The problem is, as you can see here, you will take their mission tree. Your mission tree is quite extensive and quite unique. You have a lot of things here about building a shipyard and building navy, invading Novgorod, taking on England, subjugating Norway, etc. Whereas the Pomeranian mission tree is the exact same one that Stettin has. You don't get anything new, which means it's largely about taking Pomerania, taking control over Brandenburg's area, and then pushing into Prussia and a little bit into Denmark. In other words, it's a little bit of expansion, but really is meant to get you to forming Prussia. That is the goal. Form Prussia. If you're going to be forming Prussia, you can go ahead and form Pomerania first, save yourself some time, give yourself a power spike, so you can try and take on the Teutonic Order, and hopefully take on what you need here to be able to form Prussia early on. However, if you're like me and would rather have the mission tree and then eventually change your name to the Hanseatic League and have fun in this method, just stay as Lubeck. It is up to you, but I wanted to highlight that this is absolutely an alternative path if you want to form Prussia. So if you want to form Prussia and become Space Marines, go for it. Have fun, power to you. Finally, we get to the current situation and what to do moving forward. You see, I just broke my alliance with Denmark by rivaling them, and I replaced them as an alliance with England, who's their rival, and Poland, who's their other rival. Now, the reason why I did this now is it is now time to actually aim to take things from Denmark. There's a couple of reasons for this, but first off, it is because, well, Denmark is now finally starting to integrate Norway. They have to wait 50 years to even start, and they're finally starting to do it. Now, the reason why you're waiting, and instead of trying to use this transfer subject splendor bonus that I see a lot of people think is great, is because if you steal Norway or Sweden that way, they are excessively disloyal. The reason why is they see you as conquering them into vassalage, which you are. And because you're doing so, they are excessively disloyal, which means you cannot have another subject. By not being able to have another subject, even if they would have been loyal, you are now unable to conquer anything else in the HRE. Because you are now stuck, you are stuck for a couple of decades trying to get Norway loyal again so you can integrate them, which is obviously a problem. Instead, allowing Denmark to integrate them removes Norway from the map. Not only does it remove them from the map, it removes their 7,000 army from the map, making Denmark an even easier target to take out. Lastly, you're able to take this province right here. This is a Norwegian culture, Norwegian core, meaning you can release Norway back into the wild as a vassal. And then use the other time that you have in your mission tree attacking the Danes, whether it's here to get Gotland or down here when you're seizing Jutland and Schleswig-Holstein. It allows you to use those wars to also punch out Norwegian cores, or to just punch out Norwegian cores because you feel like it. And every time you do so, you're making Norway not only larger, but more loyal because they see you as getting their land back that the Danes conquered from them, making you the good guy, which is great, right? So instead of trying to rush them down and steal a vassal that is going to hate you for decades and slow you down, just wait until 1500 when Norway's taken out, and that gives you a way to get Norway back, because then you have a free reign and a free hand to just reconquer all of it, get Iceland, and from there, should you choose to colonize, which in your mission tree you should, because it even renames Manhattan for you, it allows you to go and colonize in the New World. Now, as far as moving into Sweden, you can do that over here with Finland cores, which will give you a nice launching off point to get into Russia. Because if you look at the rest of your missions, yeah, you even get a claim on Novgorod. So you're going to be going after Muscovy, hopefully getting Novgorod before they can form Russia, and if not, you're fighting Russia eventually. But by then you'll have all of Scandinavia, you should have most of Germany over here in the Iceland, and then hopefully some colonies to back you up. But with all of that being said, that is the final strategy for Lubeck, giving you a solid base and a solid foundation, so by the time 1500 comes around, you have an army where your army together is stronger than Denmark and Sweden put together, making it so you can launch your attacks in and conquer what you want to conquer, giving yourself a massive trade empire up here in the Baltic Sea and in Lubeck, and eventually the North Sea, making England, once you get your missions there to go after England, because, oh yeah, you get those too, makes them a prime target to wipe them out too. Hopefully you guys have fun with this. Lubeck can be an amazing run if you're willing to go down the trade route and then take that into this, let's build a North Sea empire. Why not? But if you guys like this kind of content, like and subscribe, because I will definitely be making more of it. If you want to see a particular tag or a particular mechanic discussed, leave it in the comment below. Be more than happy to cover it. But thank y'all for watching. I hope y'all have a wonderful day.